Now there's another mode called calibration that we use when we're setting up the glider, and to activate that we go into the top level position, and if I go out of that menu back to here, you can see we're in calibration mode. And what that does is it gets rid of all the settings that are in the ship and allows us to focus on endpoints and balancing of the surfaces. Now especially the ailerons, they need to be balanced. And I always set up the left side first and balance it with the right side. And to do this I have curves on the output, and the curves are a 2-point curve for the left side, so we just look at the top and bottom position. And the curve for the right hand side is a 5-point curve, which gives us the opportunity to set 5 positions and balance the ailerons. And to do that, we use the throttle stick, which has got a curve applied to it. And if I
flaps down, flaps up,
as you can
flaps
see,
down,
they're fairly balanced because I've already done the balancing. But if we look closely inside the settings, we can go to the curves menu, for example, and we can look at the set left aileron SLA, and we can see there's a curve here with 100% on the plus side and slightly less than 100% on the other side. So the reason that's like that is that I noticed that the top position of the 2 servos were not quite set correctly. So I first balanced the top end to match the right hand side. And then we can go into the curve 5 and we can see that to balance them, there is a slight curve here. So by way of example, if we go into the middle curve, the 3rd position, which is the middle stick position, and we have a close look at the ailerons, they're actually balanced, but if they weren't, it's at -9, let's just move it. You can see the middle position of the right aileron moving, and so I'll take it back to 9 just to balance it out. And that's balanced. For the elevator, we also use a curve, so I set elevator with curve 6, right aileron with curve 5, left aileron with curve 4. Curve 3 is snap flaps, so basically when I move my elevator, my ailerons are moving based on that curve, which you can adjust more or less. And I have a elevator curve which I apply to my elevator stick. And what that does, even though I've got expo, it dulls the center. So that is for braking. So that when the flaps go down, this is the curve that drives the elevator down, and you can see it's not a straight line. I bring it on quite quick, and then I reduce the amount of elevator compensation as the flaps get further and further deployed. Look at global variables. The most important one really, firstly, this is the launch mode global variable. Launch mode is either on and off. Diff is adjusted by using my throttle trim. So we can adjust the differential. Exponential is driven on S2 from here. Rates, high, medium, low, driven from here. Flap, offset, aileron offset, elevator offset. These are the important ones for the flight modes. And the default flight mode is cruise. And you can see that because of the gross differential in an aileron travel on a DLG, we have to bring the center up. And if I can explain how that works because we're still in calibration mode. Oh no, we'll get out of calibration mode now. So to get out of calibration, reset button, 5 seconds.
Reset. Check flight mode.
Now, if we want to use the flaps, we have to put our flaps on. So we top right corner.
Flaps down. Air brake on. Flaps up. Flaps
So
down.
flaps up, flaps down.
Flaps up.
And we can see that our ailerons are in line here in cruise mode. So they're in line because of this offset here. So if we had just set up our flaps in the calibration, our aileron balancing in calibration mode, and this was 0, that is the 0 center position of the servos. And as you can see, our ailerons are not level anymore. So that's why we use this offset, which was 47, and it's driving the flaps up too far, 43, 47. Now, if we come across here, flight mode 6 and 7, we've got speed mode and we've got float mode. And this one's thermal mode. Thermal mode picks up the same settings from float mode as we learned earlier. And so 27 and 57. So what that is, 57 is a 10 offset from our cruise mode, which means we've got reflex of 10, and our float mode is 27, so we've got 20 steps down of camber, and that's where the reflex, camber and center settings are made in this program. Same for the elevator. We can set this one here, for example, flight mode 2, flight mode 2, so cruise, calibration. This one is launch 1, so this is where we've got 20 points of up elevator on our launch mode. And then we go into zoom, which picks up speed mode in flight mode 3. Flight mode 4 is landing, so landing mode uses the cruise mode settings. And again, flight mode 5, which is thermal, picks up flight mode 6 settings, etc., etc. And I can control the float and speed settings for the elevator offset here. If it was a 6 channel, I would use these global variables for flap and do exactly the same thing to control their settings.